What were you doing when you were 17 years old? Going to school? Playing video games? Trying to pass exams? Well, one teenager at the 2026 FIFA World Cup is only 17 years old and is about to play in front of more than 1 billion viewers. But here's the crazy part. Just a few years ago, many of these players were complete unknowns. No sponsorships, no headlines, no superstar status. And one of them was rejected by scouts who believed he was simply too small. Another nearly gave up football altogether. Today, they're preparing for football's biggest stage. And the player at number 1 has a story so unbelievable that some fans are already calling him the future face of world football. Let's begin. Imagine being 16 years old and suddenly sharing a locker room with some of the biggest football stars on earth. That's exactly what happened to Ibrahim Mbaye. Born to Senegalese parents and raised in France, Mbaye spent his childhood obsessively practicing skills that other kids thought were impossible. According to youth coaches, he would stay behind after training sessions for hours, trying to perfect dribbling moves. But here's something most fans don't know. When Mbaye first entered elite youth football, many scouts believed he relied too much on flair and tricks. They questioned whether he could become a complete player. Instead of getting discouraged, he doubled down. More training, more discipline, more work. Eventually, Paris Saint-Germain noticed. And not long after that, he was training alongside some of football's biggest names. Think about that for a second. One day, you're watching stars on television. The next day, you're sharing a pitch with them. Now he's heading to the World Cup with Senegal, hoping to become the next African superstar. But the next player on this list might have an even more incredible rise. Most football fans outside Africa have never heard of Hamza Abdelkarim. That might change very soon. Growing up in Egypt, Hamza wasn't born into football royalty. He didn't have famous parents. He didn't have expensive academies. What he did have was relentless determination. Friends say Hamza was known for carrying a football almost everywhere. School, neighborhood streets, family gatherings, anywhere. His obsession became so extreme that relatives joked he treated the ball like a family member. But here's the amazing part. Egypt has millions of football-loving kids. Only a tiny fraction ever become professionals, and an even smaller number represent their country at the World Cup. Hamza beat those odds. Now he has a chance to become one of the youngest Egyptian players ever to perform on football's biggest stage. And if he succeeds, he could inspire an entire new generation back home. But wait until you hear about number 3, because his rise happened inside one of the toughest football systems in the world. Germany doesn't hand opportunities to teenagers. You earn them. And Lennart Karl earned every single one. Here's a fact most people don't know. Germany's youth development system is considered one of the most demanding on earth. Thousands of talented players enter the pipeline. Only a handful make it all the way through. Every year, future stars disappear because the competition is simply too brutal. Yet somehow Lennart Karl kept surviving every challenge. Every cut, every trial, every selection. Coaches quickly noticed something unusual. While other young players panicked under pressure, Karl became calmer. The bigger the moment, the better he seemed to play. That's an incredibly rare trait. Some scouts even compare it to the mentality shown by Germany's greatest players. Now imagine walking into a World Cup stadium at 18 years old wearing the German jersey. The pressure would crush most people. For Karl, it might be exactly where he thrives. And speaking of pressure, the next player is carrying the hopes of an entire nation. Every World Cup produces a surprise star. Could Hugo Sochurek be next? At only 18 years old, he's already become one of the most exciting young talents in Czech football. But here's what makes his story fascinating. Unlike players from football powerhouses like Brazil, France, or Spain, Hugo grew up knowing opportunities would be harder to find. Czech football doesn't receive the same global attention. The spotlight isn't as bright. The resources aren't as large, which means talented players often have to work twice as hard to get noticed. And that's exactly what Hugo did. Match after match, season after season, he kept proving himself. Then came the moment every young footballer dreams about: the World Cup call. Imagine hearing your name announced, knowing that billions of people could soon be watching you, at an age when most teenagers are still figuring out their future. But even Hugo's story isn't as unbelievable as the player at number 1, because this teenager isn't just playing in the World Cup, he's playing it at home. What were you doing at 15 years old? Because Gilberto Mora was already becoming a professional football sensation. And at 17, he's the youngest player at the entire 2026 FIFA World Cup. But here's where the story gets crazy. Mexico isn't just participating in the tournament, they're hosting it. That means every touch, every pass, every mistake will happen in front of millions of home fans. Most adults would struggle with that pressure. Gilberto Mora is doing it as a teenager. Even more impressive, European giants reportedly started monitoring him long before most fans even knew his name. Scouts were amazed by his football intelligence. Not just his talent, his intelligence. He sees passes before defenders realize they're possible. He reads the game like someone 10 years older. And here's a fact that shocked many analysts. Some believe Mora's decision to continue developing in Mexico rather than rushing to Europe could actually accelerate his growth. Instead of chasing fame, he focused on becoming a better player. That's rare, especially in modern football. Now the biggest stage in sports awaits. And if he delivers, the entire world may remember FIFA World Cup 2026 as the tournament where Gilberto Mora became a superstar. Think about that. A player already considered one of the best young talents on earth may still be years away from his peak. His rise has been so fast that some fans forget he's still a teenager. And the 2026 World Cup could be the moment he officially becomes football's next global superstar. Every generation gets its heroes. Pele, Maradona, Messi, Mbappe. The question is, who will be next? Will Gilberto Mora shock the world on home soil? Or will one of these lesser-known teenagers become the biggest surprise of the entire World Cup? One thing is certain. By the time the final whistle blows in 2026, at least one of these young players will have changed football history forever. And when that happens, you'll be able to say you knew their story before the world did. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe and let us know in the comments. Which young player will become the breakout star of FIFA World Cup 2026? Like and hype the video if you like the journey of our FIFA heroes.